what is the challenge for you concerning your feelings when you have to jury work based on digital images that are presented to the juror very often, because if it's a national show in particular?
So it's definitely difficult because there needs to be accompanying information as to what is the scale of something. And specifically for a fiber show, oh my goodness, does it become challenging. Details that are involved with fiber art as an art genre that don't come across in a digital image. And it's a matter of needing to look for overall color use, the composition, the content that's being explored. So there's a range of other factors that come into consideration when looking at the digital images. You don't know, like this gigantic piece here was this big on the computer screen. So there's really no way of knowing until you physically see it. And into the exhibition for the installation was just overwhelming with the beauty and the craftsmanship and the vibrancy of the actual tactile pieces. I mean, fiber arts is all about material quality, that it's based on, is it yarn? Is it paper bags? Is it trash bags? Is it fishing line? Like, what is fiber? How do you define it? So there's all these kind of quirks and unknowns, and so the digital image might have the perfect composition or the right volume and balance and fit certain design principles and make its way to the exhibition, and then seeing it in the exhibition is just overwhelmingly amazing. It's very exciting to see it in person.
I noticed on your website that you said that your work explores the elegance of geometry that provides a glimpse into our divine nature and place in the cosmos. And I wondered if this affected your choice for the exhibit, your choices for the exhibit.
It's fascinating being a juror, as I have my own personal journey in life of ideas and shapes and forms to explore as a sculptor. And as a juror, I did my best to put my personal preferences and personal explorations aside to really be able to best evaluate the entries and everyone else's personal journeys. So I know that I have a tendency towards certain abstract, non-figurative, non-representational weavings, perhaps. So figuring out how to balance that with portraits and balance that with, more stories that are embedded in an artwork, and being aware of my art in a sense of really opening up to a larger context.
Twisting Fibers show includes a wide range of fiber media, and I was thinking, was that a conscious goal during the jurying process, or is that just the way it turned out?
It was a very conscious decision during the jurying process that the amount of techniques and the definition of what is fiber art is so broad that I wanted to make sure that there was a representation of a range of techniques. So we have knitting and quilting, crocheting, hand sewing, machine sewing, collaging, silk screening, weaving, tapestries, pattern screen printing, brush strokes, crochet, there's a print press, there's hand dyeing. So fiber arts just goes on and encompasses so much. And there's actually a couple of pieces. So one of the lines, one of the boundaries that I kind of drew for myself was that it had to include fiber. Some type of fiber. What fiber was kind of open. It could be dryer lint. It could be cut up trash trash bags. Fiber has a tendency to be a linear element, so a linear element can be interpreted in a vast array of ways. Fishing line, hand-spun newspaper. There are a couple of pieces in the show that actually do not have fiber. They are prints of fiber-related images. So there is a print of a spool of yarn. There is a photograph of a felted wool object. And I felt a little humorous adding those in.
Tell me about the process that you go through in order to make decisions in the jury process. As an artist, I'm always interested in hearing what those decisions are.
It definitely is a process. And so as a juror, my responsibility is to look at a number of entries and start making decisions. For the first round of jurying through the digital images, if there was an image that the edges of the piece were cut off and I couldn't tell what the piece was because there was no definition of a boundary, that piece didn't make the cut. So also, if I couldn't figure out, does this sit? Does this hang? How does this piece exist in the world? That also was kind of a disqualifying technicality. Fiber arts is an opportunity to express meticulous craftsmanship, and part of the craftsmanship is how do you handle your edges? How do you sew or turn back or treat the borders of the piece that needs to be visually seen in the digital image? So I needed to see the edges of the piece and it needed to be fully resolved.
So that's one of the textile criteria that you used in your decision making?
Absolutely. So a beautiful embroidery piece, regardless of how exquisite the embroidery, if it was being presented to me in a store-bought embroidery hoop, that didn't make the cut. That didn't demonstrate enough exploration of completion. Or if you had a highly patterned piece and you presented a digital image with a highly patterned background that didn't quite make sense. That was another level of disqualification.
How about the quality of the image itself? I hear that a lot about, if the resolution isn't there so you could determine these textile issues that you're looking at. Is that one of the reasons you may have used to disqualify something?
It is, and that's a really good point because I think it also demonstrates a level of professionalism. If you are caring enough about your artwork to have quality photography done, whether you have the skill to do that yourself or you pay someone else to have it done, that demonstrates a level of professionalism that I think then is also reflected in the artwork.
So essentially, it's the presentation to the juror digitally that can make all the difference.
It can make all the difference to be put into the pool of, is this going to work for the exhibition? And I say that very specifically because the question wasn't, is this good enough? Because there was an amazing array of entries that had the quality, that had the presentation, that had the use of color. And I still had to narrow it down from an amazing selection of beautiful, well-done artwork. It kept me up at night. I mean, as an artist, I understand the love and the passion that goes into creating something, and then also the disappointment that can come from receiving what is kind of considered a rejection sometimes. So I put a lot of time and effort into the juror's letter that I sent out that was telling people why their entry was declined. And sometimes it simply was because there were some red pieces, and there were maybe 10 amazing red pieces, and from those 10 amazing red pieces, I was looking for a certain technique to fill in the range of techniques versus a blue piece. So there were factors that were beyond the quality of the work that were in my mind of pulling together a very balanced exhibition.
So you had to build the show, if I'm understanding correctly, by looking at, again, the textile expertise perhaps, or the edges.
Absolutely.
But also you perhaps began looking at a certain group with certain colors, and then you thought, I need to balance that.
Right.
I need to balance the diversity of choices
Yes.
that are going to be shown within the show.
Yes.
So I can see the tremendous difficulty and
Yes.
challenge of that.
And then having to make that decision of two pieces that actually fit all the right criteria, and which one isn't. So I'll share with you some insight that I didn't know about until it was part of my process. One of the factors that I looked at in deciding between two pieces that were so close, neck and neck, and there only could be one of the two, was what was the value, the dollar price that the artist put on their artwork.
That's an interesting consideration.
It really was. I was surprised myself that it was something that I took into consideration. But I needed some type of information to make this decision. And my thought process was that there could be a certain level of professionalism if the person put a higher value on their artwork. That factored in. So as an artist, how do you value your artwork? What is the currency of exchange that you envision for the love and time that you put into a piece?
Excellent point.
Yeah. The most challenging aspect of being a juror was having to pick winners. And I think that part of what I find so challenging about that is that art's not really a competition. And one person's idea of what is exciting and what is amazing and beautiful and what moves them is totally different than someone else's. Why is mine that important? I'm not even sure it is. But that was part of my responsibility to have to pick the winners. And for me, it was really what pieces did I emotionally respond to. Because all of the work that is here is beautiful, beautiful work. Well, because as much as I hated having to choose winners, I have reasons why I chose the winners that I chose. So Katherine McClellan's piece, Thank You, won first prize. And this is just such a beautiful expression of love and intimacy, of equality, of tenderness. The techniques used of felting and embroidery are amazing. The representational quality of the figures and the proportion are exquisite. And then the experience of fabric that is incorporated into this most precious, intimate moment. That textiles and cloth are inherently part of our most precious moments in life. Saba received an honorable mention, and her bubble dress and mask is just absolutely exquisite. The piece is made predominantly from hand-dyed nylon monofilament, which is also known as fishing line, sequins and beads, and she just has so many different crocheting techniques going on in here, and the amount of time, hours, days, months, possibly years that went into crafting this piece is just absolutely exquisite. And Miyako is from Tokyo. So she is the one international artist in this exhibition, and we are grateful that she sent her work all the way here to Rhode Island to be on display. And I love that it has this kind of whimsical Japanese anime character quality to it, and that it is this like very unusual mixture of a woman's hijab possibly worn by an elf. If you take a look at the hat and all of the little spheres that are in the point of this kind of cap that goes around this bubble mask that's on front, and there are shoes with the pointed toes that kind of speak of the elf as well. And then this woman is going somewhere. She has a purse with her too. So she is ready for I don't even know what. I think that's all I have to say about that one, but oh my gosh, it's so good. And like some of this in here. Oh my gosh. And then these guys, the fuzzy ones.
I know the little fuzzy ones that have the little like tips. I have no idea how she got the tips and the was a fishing line.
Susan Polanski's piece, Writing on the Wall, won second place. And her use of materials and storytelling is just so delightful in this piece. She has this thin, transparent grid with these embroidered humans walking and migrating across this territory, globe, landscape. And when you start to look at these figures, they're all walking, but they're looking at their cell phones or holding a tablet, and there's just this kind of curious humor as to these naked people following each other, migrating. And what's the meaning? So it really brings up a lot of questions. Her use of color for the quilt behind this innovative overlay of embroidered people is just absolutely masterful. The color composition, the color contrast, the embroidery work that went into it, and then there is a QR code that you can read with your phone to become part of this story that is a connectivity compendium to internet usage. So basically, this whole distribution of people and tablets and lines and across the earth have to do with the internet's routing path from 2001 to 2008 to 2010 and how we've become more interconnected. So you're actually able to connect to this piece with your cell phone, which I just think is so delightful and so contemporary.